Hi friends, welcome to the All-Canadian Reptile Girl. I'm Annaliese, and I forgot to write an opening joke for this intro. Ta-da! I don't know, I guess I'll have to make up for that with sarcasm and wit.
Good luck with that.
Today we're talking about an animal that once ghosted the entire scientific world, only to show up years later like, hey, did you miss me? That's right, it's the crested gecko, like that monkey here. If you thought they were just adorable little stick-to-glass toe beans in pet stores, think again. These geckos are out there getting jobs, and not like talk to the camera for an hour each week and call it a day jobs. I mean actual jobs. Now, before we jump, like geckos, into how these geckos get a job, let's start with what a crested gecko actually is, just in case you somehow stumbled upon my channel accidentally and know nothing about reptiles. Crested geckos, or Coralophus ciliatus, are small, sticky-toed, wide-eyed geckos. They look like this, because this is what it is. Native to the rainforests of New Caledonia, a group of islands off the coast of Australia. They get their name from the spiky fringed dragon eyebrow looking things that run over their eyes and down their necks and a little bit on their bodies, but not to the same degree. These eyelashes aren't just for show. They specifically evolved so that the other name we've given them, eyelashed geckos, can make sense.
Seriously?
Okay, fine. That's probably not it. They're actually skin extensions, kind of like skin tags, which serve some purposes beyond just looking cute. First is protection. The crests act as a barrier, shielding their eyes from debris and potential injury, and probably help cut the glare a little bit. Very helpful considering that crested geckos, like many gecko species, don't have eyelids. They can't do the whole safety squint thing that my dad does when using power tools. They face the world with eyes wide open all the time. Having something in the way that doesn't totally obscure vision is helpful, yeah? Also, in the vein of protection, as a defense mechanism. They're kind of soft and don't actually do anything to a predator looking to enjoy a gecko-sized snack, but they look kind of sharp and pointy, and it just might deter or delay a small, maybe inexperienced predator. Another use is camouflage. These help break up the outline of those big, bright eyes, aiding in blending into their environment. They also potentially serve some sort of role in sensory perception. While not extensively studied, it is possible that these structures assist in detecting environmental changes. Lastly, they relate to why they are in such high demand in the workforce. But I'll get to that in a bit, as I kind of want to pad this video out more so that it's longer than just a minute or two. Please keep watching. In the intro, I mentioned that crested geckos ghosted the whole world for a while. Let's talk about that for a minute. Crested geckos were first described in 1866 as Coralophus ciliatus by French zoologist Alphonse Guicheneau in an article entitled Something French. I don't speak French, despite referring to myself in countless videos as French Canadian, but that's more to justify the speed in which I talk and the flailiness of my hands while I do it. But my dad does. So over to him in an article entitled...
What, sir? Me?
Yeah, you.
And I just read the French shit.
Yep.
Notice sur un nouveau genre de sauriens de la famille de geckotiens du Muséum de Paris. It means notice of a new genus of saurians of the gecko family from the Paris Museum.
That's exactly what I thought. Baguette poutine, je t'adore. So, 1866, they're discovered. My French skills clearly not. Then not much else happened with them. No new specimens were collected, though they were, in 1883, renamed Rhabdodactylus ciliatus. But more recent phylogenetic analysis indicates that crested geckos are not closely related to those geckos in the Rhabdodactylus genus. Garbo geckos, lychees, those guys. And in 2012, cresties and 54 other species have been reclassified from the genus Rhabdodactylus back to the genus Coralophus. Little phylogeny history for you there. Anywho, crested geckos were identified, not seen again, renamed, again, not seen again, and were eventually declared extinct as they had not been found in many, many decades. And then one fell out of a tree during a storm onto a researcher's notepad in 1994. (1994). That's how recent. That was just 4 years before my older sister was born. Yeah. A few more years from before I was born, because I'm not old, but you know, 4 years before my sister. And in that time, they went from ain't none around no more to one of the most popular pet geckos found in pretty much any pet store. That's an impressive comeback. It's like if dinosaurs, you know, the ones that aren't birds, just casually walked back into town one day and asked, hey, what did we miss? While it's unusual for extinct species to be found less extinct than previously thought, it's not unheard of. In fact, there is even a term for this, which is a Lazarus species, named after the biblical story of the very first zombie. So how did we miss them for over 100 years? Well, there's a few reasons. The principal one being, we weren't looking in the right place. They were first found on New Caledonia's main island of Grande Terre, but they aren't really on that island normally. They live mostly on Ile de Pin, Island of Pines, a small island to the southeast. And no one was looking for them there. I'm sure researchers that were there were just looking for other stuff and maybe came across them, but they might not have known that's what they were because they weren't looking for them. It's not like there was an easily accessible database for this kind of thing back in the day. I doubt there was a newsletter that went around to everyone. And then they just can't go onto Reddit on r/animalid and ask the world what they found. As you know, it was the olden days. They didn't have that. So these guys went unnoticed. Another factor is that they're small, especially in the wild. They tend to be far less chunky than those in captivity. Yes, Night Monkey is overweight a little bit. Yes, we know. She has also been on a diet for like 2 years. We can't feed her any less. She's just thick.
2 seeds.
Possibly 3.
Okay.
Anyways, they are also arboreal and hang out in places that are not really that easy to get to. Now, hold on. When you hear arboreal, you might think like way up, clinging to tree trunks or branches up in the clouds, but they're not really that kind of arboreal. They can do that, sure. That isn't within their abilities, but their version of arboreal is like low, bushy kind of arboreal, 2 to 3 meters off of the ground, typically. You might think that this would make them easier to find. However, it is actually easier to spot or collect an animal just perched on a wide branch, even if it is up high. That's why so many geckos will put so many skill points into camouflage, like the satanic leaf geckos, which are so cool and very beautiful.
Or lychees.
Or lychees, yeah, even gargoyles.
Yeah.
Against like a mossy tree, you won't find them. But by hiding in the more dense, bushy foliage, it's harder to get inside and see what's there. Add to that the sticky toes that let them grip to pretty much anything, and these guys are great at getting to spots that we just can't go, living primarily in a place that we didn't know they lived. And being so small and good at hiding, they went unnoticed for more than a century. Neat, eh? They won at hide and seek. Full stop. No one's beating them. Okay. So what does any of this have to do with them having a job? Glad you asked. I guess it's about time that we got to the actual point of this video. Well, I came across a post on Reddit about these guys, and I just had to dig into it a little deeper. Here's what I found. The Calgary Zoo in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, obviously, has an indoor rainforest exhibit in which they have crested geckos free roaming about. They aren't really there as an exhibit per se. Most people visiting will never see them or notice them. Seems on brand. They're not decoration or for ambiance or to give a tourist a heart attack by leaping onto their face. No. They are there as natural pest control, eating fruit flies, gnats, and other teeny invaders that might otherwise harm the artificial ecosystem that the zoo has created. And this is what I think is super cool and was surprising for me to learn, to help with the pollination of many of the plant species in the exhibit. Pollination is how flowering plants reproduce. If you didn't know, when pollen from the male part of the flower, called the stamen, is transferred to the female part, the pistil, it allows the plant to produce seeds. And while some plants rely on wind or water to move pollen around, most flowering plants need the help of animals. Bees and butterflies and hummingbirds are what most people will think of, but lots of other species do it too, including crested geckos. Because they're arboreal with superhero-like grip and an impressive leaping ability, they can move pretty much anywhere through the foliage without causing damage or getting in the way of larger animals. Cresties love licking up rotting fruit or floral nectar, and those frills on their eyelashes and down their body and their crippy feet are absolutely perfect for collecting pollen. As they mush their face into a flower, they will inadvertently collect a bunch of pollen. And when they move on to feed on another flower, some of that pollen will be deposited there, and new pollen will be picked up and deposited into another flower, and so on and so on, helping flowering trees and plants in their home thrive. How cool is that? So, to recap, crested geckos were found, then lost, then renamed, then came back, then renamed back to their original name, and now they're working part-time at the Calgary Zoo like it's no big deal. From extinct to ecosystem MVPs. Pretty darn cool if you ask me. If you needed another reason to love these squishy-eyed, sometimes frog-butted, weird little lizards, now you've got one, or three, or more. Who's counting? You don't need to put a cap on how many reasons you just love them. Anyways, thanks for watching. A special thanks, as always, to these wonderful folks here who support me on Patreon. I couldn't do what I do without your help, so thank you all so much. If you'd like to help me out too, please head on over to patreon.com/AllCanadianReptileGirl to learn more. Like the video if, you liked it and aren't just still here to angry watch until the end. That would be a little bit weird if that's what you were doing, but I'm not gonna get in your way. I'm still getting the engagement. While you're there giving the old thumbs up, just scooch over a bit and hit the subscribe. Or share if you think someone you know would like this. It helps so much. All of that really does help. And drop a comment if you'd like geckos freelance in your greenhouse. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, remember to nurture all nature. Now, I'm gonna go stick myself to some glass and just hang out for a bit and see how long it can hang. Bye! Lizard cameraman. They really are getting